You're listening to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the community for the best sales and marketing professionals in the aviation industry. You can't learn to fly just from a book. You learn from other pilots who know the tools, the skills, and the territory. Your hosts, John and Paula Williams, are your sales and marketing test pilots. They take the risks for you and share strategies, relevant examples, hacks, and how-tos. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes so you won't miss a thing.
Welcome to Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying episode number 40. Wow, 40 episodes. That's a lot of episodes. SEO methods that we do recommend. So I'm Paula Williams.
Glad to meet you. I'm John Williams.
Glad to meet me. I think we've been introduced.
You think?
And we are ABCI, and ABCI's mission is
to help all you ladies and gents out there sell more products and services in the aviation world.
Absolutely. So you're welcome to join the conversation at #AvGeekMarketing is our hashtag. Or you can join us on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or write comments on our website or any number of things like that, which we really love to hear from you guys. We get some of our best ideas from you, and it helps our search engine optimization when you comment on our website, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about website basics. You have to have a website anyway, right?
Yep. You can't do it without. In fact, these days, a company without a website is not deemed to be actually viable.
Or legitimate, exactly. It's almost like being in the yellow pages in the olden days, right?
Yeah, if you weren't in the yellow pages, you didn't exist.
Right. So a lot of people are going to look you up online rather than, or before they agree to meet with you, because they want to find out something about your company, and that website is a nice first impression. So if you have to have a website anyway, it might as well be as effective as possible, right?
Absolutely.
And by effective, we mean it should be bringing you qualified leads.
Yep.
All right. And SEO, and when we talk about SEO, search engine optimization, we're talking about organic search engine optimization as opposed to paid search engine optimization.
Organic is a funny word.
It is a funny word, but what we mean is not necessarily anything other than pay-per-click or paid search placement.
Anything but that.
Right. It's very cost effective over the long term. And when we're talking long term, we're talking 90 plus days, right?
Which means it covers a myriad of things you can do with and to and for and from and with your website.
Exactly. All right. So the things that we do recommend is to outsource the nerdy SEO stuff. Right?
Nerdy?
Nerdy. Yes, I mean nerdy, meaning very specific knowledge of the things that you need to do to make your website score better than your competitors' websites.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of stuff in there that has gotten so technical that we don't even do it ourselves these days. We actually outsource some of that.
Probably a reason it sounds like dirty.
Yeah.
Because you got to get down and dirty inside the nits and bits and dry bites of stuff to make it work.
Yeah, you're going to get code all over your fingers. But yeah, and I'm a huge nerd, you know. I mean, I did all of our SEO up until 2015, and I love that sort of thing. But we did figure out that that is not the best use of my time.
You're not huge. You're only 5'9".
Well, it is. Okay, so I'm not a huge nerd, but inside my brain, there's a huge nerd that loves this sort of thing. But we did figure out that it is not the best use of my time. And if you're spending a lot of time doing search engine optimization, it's probably not the best use of your time either. So you really want to spend your time on things that only you can do that contribute to this and that contribute to the ultimate goal, which is making more sales. So,
and it's surprisingly affordable if you find the right folks. You got to find the folks that are doing it right and doing it with ethics, but it's surprisingly affordable to get some really good work done.
Exactly. Right. And then you really need to be spending your time on the things that only you can do, which is creating great content that your ideal customers are going to love, for your website.
Taking care of sales and finance and marketing and so forth.
Right. You also want to be devising a great call to action or a great lead magnet that will capture contact information on your website. And we're going to talk about some of your options for that as well. And you want to also be spending your time doing sales, right?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay. So why do you need to outsource the nerdy stuff?
I thought we just talked about that.
Because nobody with a real job can keep up with the number of changes that Google makes every year, right?
Wasn't that the truth?
Okay. So we talked about this a little bit in our last episode, but we're going to get a little bit more in detail today. There have been, in 2011 was kind of a watershed year in search engine optimization. Go ahead.
Wasn't that the last year we did it?
No, 2015. I did it until last year.
'Cause I know the last year we did it, we were making changes and watching the score still go down. And we said, "Now wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
we're up to speed on this stuff. There are no errors anywhere." And they said, "Oh, they changed
They
something
changed
else
something else.
while we were
Exactly.
changing all this stuff."
Right. So by the time we went through all of the websites and made all of the changes to catch up with the Google algorithm change, Google would change it again.
And this happened several times before we decided that we didn't know what the hell we were doing anymore.
This is a clean podcast, right? So anyway, yeah, but literally we did not know what we were doing anymore. It was just too frustrating and too upsetting. And that started somewhere around 2011, but being the stubborn, ridiculous person that I am, I still thought I could do a better job than anybody else because of the aviation vocabulary and because of the need to have great content and all of those things.
Stubborn? Say it isn't so.
Right. But what we figured out is that the best thing to do is to create a really great partnership
Yes.
so that we can combine industry knowledge with search engine optimization expertise, right?
Yeah, because these folks, that is what they do,
Mm-hmm.
period. And apparently pretty damn good at it.
Exactly. Right. So 2011 was about 20 changes during that year. Up to that point, Google would only change the search engine algorithms about fewer than 10 times a year. In 2012, it was more than 30 changes. 2013 and 2014, it doesn't look like as many, but they were more significant changes like Penguin and Panda and Mobilegeddon. If you're familiar with those kinds of changes, they had a huge impact on some of the sites that we work with. In some cases, it actually did us some good, but only because we were working our butts off to make sure that we were prepared for those changes, and our competitors were not.
Yep.
Right. So it was just way too much work and way too much specialized knowledge that kept us from doing what we really needed to be doing, which is creating great content and selling, right?
And it's not all that easy to keep up with the changes Google makes, because even though they put them out there, you have to be in the right forums to figure out what they are and when they happen.
Exactly, right. So just to give you an example, and I'm going to use one of our members as an example of our insider circle, Jeff Stodola. A few months ago, in fact, he's still in the reserve, so he flies fighter jets. He lands them on aircraft carriers, and he shoots things out of the sky, right? That is a very specific skill set, and everybody thinks that he's fabulous and they want to be Jeff when they grow up, right? It's fantastic, and we really admire that. Jeff just recently started as a captain with one of the airlines, and it is a very different skill set, and it's probably not any less challenging, but he's been doing a lot of training and, spending a lot of time getting type rating and, other kinds of things to make sure that he actually flares instead of hitting hard, which is what you do when you land on an aircraft carrier, right?
Yep. You hit a certain rate of descent and aim toward the deck and you get caught.
Yep.
Trapped, I think is the word.
Very different than when you have an airplane full of people trying not to spill their coffee on each other. So, right, it takes time and money to learn to do things well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, with a lot of our clients, they don't seem to think that this applies to search engine optimization. They think they can just have somebody do this as a part-time job and, get great results. But, it really isn't realistic anymore. Although it may have been realistic in 2006, 2005, that is not true anymore. The world has changed around us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're expecting your fighter pilot to have nice soft landings with your passengers, and it just doesn't work that way.
And then hammer the deck when he flies the jet.
Exactly. So don't beat up your people if they're not really getting great results for you. We've actually heard of a lot of that going on this year, where people are getting really, really frustrated because somebody who was really, really great at SEO 4 or 5 years ago is now not doing so well, and it's not necessarily their fault. Especially if they have many hats to wear, and SEO is one of them. It has gotten so specialized that you really can't expect, without sending them to school on a regular basis and having them go to these workshops, sometimes a week every 3 months is what these people who are really specialized in SEO are spending. And spending a lot of money on books and a lot of money on software, tools, and other kinds of things. So you can either spend that kind of money hiring somebody and making them very specific, or you can simply outsource that and save a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yep,
Right?
because these guys that we outsource to, that we partner with, that's what they do, and they're in school all the time.
Right, exactly. So you do want to make sure that someone on the SEO team understands aviation terminology and culture, right? Because there's a lot of people, we get email all the time saying we can do search engine optimization cheap, or we can do search engine optimization for you, really quickly and get you good results. But they're people who are maybe overseas and maybe not even great at English, much less really great at aviation language and culture. So, there's a couple of things that are kind of unique to aviation culture. And, we laugh at aviation jokes. If we are what we eat, then pilots should eat more chicken. If you're a pilot, or if you know a pilot, you're going to laugh at that joke. If you are not a pilot and you don't know any pilots, you don't even know why that's funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, an airplane will probably fly a little bit over gross, but it sure won't fly without fuel.
Uh-huh.
Right, so, overfilling with fuel is almost never the cause of an accident, but, we know that. Other people who are not in aviation may not. Truly superior pilots are those who use superior judgment to avoid those situations where they may have to use their superior skills. And you're laughing. Why are you laughing?
Yeah, because somebody also said the only way you get superior judgment is to have things go wrong.
It's through experience, and the only way you get experience is through inferior judgment.
That's right.
That's true. And that one may be true of things other than aviation, but
Right.
But there is a culture and there is a vocabulary that is specific to aviation people. So you want to make sure that whoever you get to do your search engine optimization understands that, and especially if they're making any changes to words that are used on your website, you want to make sure that they speak the language, they get the jokes, they understand the nuances. They say humor is one of the more sophisticated intellectual processes. Which is cool. So a lot more fun. That's one way to find out if your SEO people know what they're talking about, is tell them aviation jokes and see if they laugh. Okay? Right. So what you need to be doing, and what your team needs to be focused on, is creating great content. What do your customers want to read, hear, or see? You want to be creating great articles, audio, and video that will help them do their jobs better and get better results out of their companies and things like that. So, to learn more about that and to get more help with that, you might want to look at episode 8, where we talk about the editorial calendar. And what we talk about there is how you can look at some of the aviation publications and think like a magazine editor and think about what is some great content that I could put together that is really going to help attract people to my company and make us seem like a thought leader. Make us be a thought leader, not seem like, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Episode 20 on
Just
educating.
trying to catch me, weren't you?
Exactly. Episode 20 on educating customers, how to create materials that help educate your customers and make them better at whatever they do and help them succeed. And episode 23 on using video. Video is great content for your website. You can take those hours and hours and hours and hours that you're spending looking up SEO algorithm changes and changing all the metadata on your website, and instead do some more creative things, take it up a level and create some great video, some great articles and other things that are going to make a big difference on your website, right? Okay, another thing that you can do is to create a great call to action. So when people come to your website, is there some kind of a form or something that they need to fill out to get something from you that they want, right? So a tip sheet or a consultation or any number of things that is going to really give them a reason to give you their contact information and help you follow through with the sales process. So that's another way you could be spending your time other than making those metadata changes and all that nerdy stuff that your SEO team is now going to be doing now that you're outsourcing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another thing you should be doing, another thing that I've had to be doing spending more time doing, and that is selling. And I started spending more time selling this year, and we've been a lot more successful because of it. Since we've gotten this off my plate, we've been able to take some vacations, and we've also been spending more time making sales calls and making sales presentations, and it definitely shows up on the bottom line, doesn't it, John?
What, they let you out here to go on vacation?
Yes! We've been on vacation twice in the last year, and we never would have thought about that and before we were outsourcing SEO to somebody that we trusted, because I don't really even know or care anymore when Google comes out with an algorithm change, because I know that's covered and I know our partners have that taken care of.
Exactly.
So I can be laying on a beach in Hawaii or making a sales call. Either way, I think I'm probably doing a lot more good than I was before, when I was working on those details of search engine optimization. All right. So download our SEO tip sheet from abci1.com/SEO. And we'll have a lot of these tips there that you can use that checklist to look at the search engine optimization that you're doing and what things you should be doing yourself and what things you might want to outsource. So 7 ways to get more traffic to your website, and that is relevant, qualified traffic, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So go sell more stuff.
America needs the business. And our buddy Zig Ziglar said that a long time ago.
Absolutely. And subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play. And please do leave us a review.
We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Thanks for joining us for Aviation Marketing Hangar Flying, the best place to learn what really works in sales and marketing in the aviation industry. Remember to subscribe on iTunes and leave a rating.